Hi, I'm Andy Schmuckler, a guy with a big picture view of the challenges that we face as a species, but who's completely preoccupied with our immediate situation where we're about to have a presidential election in which either democracy or fascism is going to win. So let's stick with the immediate thing. There'll be time enough afterwards to talk about the larger framework within which this battle between democracy and fascism can be better understood and better fought. But right now, I have a really good feeling about where this particular battle is heading. And well, I want to admit that I realize that I could be wrong. And there's a part of me which is full of worry and has been full of worry for quite a while, actually. But I know that in our era, we've had some surprises, and almost all these surprises have had to do with Donald Trump. I mean, at least the big ones. So my gut feeling could be wrong, but this is how it looks to me. We're going to win. We're going to win, and it's maybe not going to be so close as people are talking about. I think that the way people on the Harris side are talking is deliberately calculated to keep the worry there, because what this victory is going to be the product of is the massive effort of so many people enthusiastic behind this campaign, but needing everybody to run to the tape, or leave it all on the field, or whatever metaphor you'll want. I think run to the tape is best, because what everybody keeps on communicating from the Democratic side, and people like Simon Rosenberg in particular, is the combination of a little bit of optimism, but a sense that one has to keep the effort up all the way to the end. People don't want to say that things are shaping up the way my gut tells me that they're shaping up, which is it's not going to be so terribly close. But who can take anything for granted in this strange situation that we found ourselves in America over the past decade, and in some ways over the last generation? We can't afford to do anything but continue to be driven by that enthusiasm to do all the stuff that needs to be doing, the telephoning, the going door to door, the donating, the driving people to the polls, whatever the set of things are that make people come to a Kamala Harris rally at the Ellipse and be 75,000 people, a crowd that goes all the way back to the Washington Monument. This is a phenomenon. And it's an important part of why this thing is coming, this thing that we need and that we have craved. We're driven partly by that enthusiasm, but also partly by the worry, the sense that, oh, if it's close, if it's neck and neck, if it's a dead heat, well, then every little thing that we do might be the thing that tips the thing one way or another, because so much is at stake. And so much is at stake is wrapped up in the terror that's part of the recipe. Because if Donald Trump were to be elected, with J.D. Vance in the wings, with all these people who are around him, from Stephen Vance to Steve, what's his name, Bannon, and Stephen Miller and Elon Musk. These are not good people, and for the American people to choose to put them into power is just too terrible to contemplate. I mean, it's Halloween today, but who needs a terror movie like everything that we hear from that side? So we're driven by that terror, and that's part of the enthusiasm too. They are not unrelated. The enthusiasm is because ever since Kamala Harris got put by the president that was going to lose, it seemed, up at the top of the ticket, she has been the vessel of all of our hope. She with there is a stakes involved in this election. It's terrifying to contemplate what losing this election would mean. We had an idea of that in 2020, and it looked pretty terrible in 2016. But we have a bigger idea of just how terrible it would be now. And that terror has made our enthusiasm, I mean, she's doing a great job, but even if she weren't doing a good job, even if she were doing only an adequate job, there would still be a great deal of enthusiasm because she is what stands between us and a nightmare. This is Halloween. And there are actually demonic forces at work in America. We can talk about what that can mean in a good social scientific sense, because not everything that happens in the human world is purely rational. And that's where my big picture comes in, which I hope people will take a look at on my website, A Better Human Story, because this is a crucial showdown in a very much larger picture of what's going on in the world in our times, but also more generally, what has been at the center of the drama of the human story since our species took the unprecedented step of going onto the path of civilization, extricating ourselves from the niche in which we evolved biologically. That prize-winning book of mine called The Parable of Tribes from the University of California Press shows why that drama would inevitably arise as an inevitable consequence of stepping onto the path of civilization. But here we are, dealing with one of the crucial showdowns in our times. And we need to focus on that. And I feel like I can't help but focus on it rather than my big picture. Just like if you're involved in some kind of platoon warfare under fire, or some larger thing like the Battle of the Bulge, it's not time to be thinking about the stuff FDR and George Marshall and admirals in the Pacific and Eisenhower in Europe are thinking about, this whole global thing that we're involved with. You got to deal with what's immediate. And this is not a small thing that we're dealing with now. This is a major showdown. We are going to win this thing. I feel it. And the bad news is that when we have won this thing, the war will not be over. The battle is not the whole war. And that's why it's going to be important to deal with what's happened to a lot of our countrymen that made this possible. And it's going to be important to deal with the whole issue of having a Supreme Court, which is now occupied territory by the force of fascism. The war will not be over, but this is such a crucial battle. And we need to be focused on doing the stuff that it takes now to get every drop of potential support, popular support, translated into the power to win the war, to win this battle, for democracy to beat fascism, and maybe to do it decisively enough to drive Donald Trump and that whole force way further into oblivion. We do need a conservative party that's a reasonable partner in the American project. And the Republican Party has become such a terrible thing. I mean, it simply cannot be allowed to have any power in this society to the extent that we can help it. And they've created a Supreme Court. And they've created a Republican base that can see all that they've seen and yet be willing to vote for Donald Trump. So the war will go on, but my gut feeling tells me we are going to win this battle. And it's good to hold both the enthusiasm about how important that is and also the terror about how terrible it would be if in this world that we don't really fully understand what's been going on, if it should turn out otherwise. So leave it all on the field. Go all the way to the finish line. Keep fighting the fight in all the ways it should be fought. And one of the ways it should be fought, I think I'm going to talk about in a few minutes on another video, is how it is important before Trump does big lie number 2, which he's already starting to lay a lot of groundwork for, to do something preemptive so that the American public, including the people who might take what Trump will say when he loses seriously, to make a preemptive move to make sure that the American people are alert that this is what he's going to do, that he never concedes defeat, even when he has no evidence to, he claims fraud even when he has no evidence. I think that part of the deal of winning this election is to winning the post-election, when Trump is going to be challenging the legitimacy of the election. And we can't afford to have so many people believe the lie again. So let's strike now on that. I'll be back to talk about that in a few minutes. Thank you. Check out what I've got on my website, abetterhumanstory.org. And please subscribe to my videos here. I give always the best that I can to shed light on